A long, long time ago, when kingdoms still stood proud behind towering walls and forests stretched endlessly across the horizon, there was a realm hidden between mountains. It was a place of music, laughter, and legends, where stories were passed down from one generation to the next. Among those legends were whispers about two princesses, sisters born on the same starry night, yet as different as fire and water. The firstborn, Princess Teresa, was vibrant and talkative. Her voice filled every corridor of the palace, her words carrying charm and command. She was admired for her wit and confidence, and people often said her voice could sway even the most stubborn of hearts. The younger sister, Princess Hannah, was unlike her. Silent, thoughtful, and reserved, she spoke no words. Some wondered if she even could. Courtiers whispered about curses. Physicians searched for answers, but no remedy was ever found. She remained silent, her lips never giving way to sound. And yet, silence never meant emptiness. Hannah's eyes carried depth, as though she listened to something beyond the reach of ordinary ears. When the court laughed at her silence, she wandered the gardens. When others pitied her, she smiled softly at the wind rustling the trees. Because Hannah's silence was not a weakness, it was her gift. She could hear what nobody else could: the creak of roots stretching beneath the earth, the murmur of rivers in their eternal flow, the sigh of trees in the forest. Nature spoke to her, and she understood its language. But her family, unaware of the secret, often dismissed her. The queen, regal and commanding, loved her children equally, but relied heavily on Teresa's bold presence. The king, busy with matters of state, overlooked the quiet strength of his younger daughter. And so, Hannah lived in the shadows, finding peace in places where no one thought to look. Teresa, on the other hand, adored the spotlight. She was never cruel to Hannah, but she often filled the silence with chatter, never realizing how precious that quiet was. "Hannah," she would say, "you should smile more, or laugh, or at least say something. It's so dreadfully boring without words. Do you think I should wear lilac or lavender? They sound the same, but they're not, you know." She never noticed the way Hannah's eyes softened, as though she was listening to voices Teresa could never hear. One evening, as the palace prepared for a feast, Hannah heard something unsettling. Not the cheerful bustle of servants, nor the chatter of nobles. It was a whisper carried by the forest winds. A sigh, a cry for help. The voice was faint yet insistent, as though the trees themselves were groaning under an invisible weight. 4 nights, she heard it again and again, until her heart could no longer ignore it. Guided by instinct, Hannah slipped away into the forest, deeper than she had ever gone before. The woods, usually her companions, now seemed tense, restless. Branches twisted unnaturally, and the air hung heavy with unease. And then she saw it, an ancient tree, massive and gnarled, unlike anything she had ever laid eyes on. Its roots spread wide like the arms of a guardian. Legend spoke of the root keeper, a mythical protector of the kingdom who had witnessed centuries of rise and fall. Hannah had always thought it was a story for children, but here it was, alive and waiting. She reached out, trembling, and touched its bark. At once, light surged from beneath her palm, and the enormous tree shivered with life. Words, deep and resonant, filled her mind. Pride, greed, fear, flames hidden in the palace shadows. Hannah gasped as a faint lantern appeared on her palm, its flame flickering weakly. 3 glowing leaves fell from the branches, red, blue, and yellow. The root keeper whispered again, "These sins rot the roots. Find them, reveal them, free the kingdom." Hannah returned to the palace, clutching the leaves. She tried to tell Teresa, the queen, anyone who would listen. But no one believed her. "Oh, Hannah," Teresa laughed. "Is this about mushrooms in the soup again? You're imagining things." Others dismissed her with pity, thinking silence had made her delusional. Defeated but not broken, Hannah knew the task was hers alone. The next morning, she followed the pull of the lantern and entered the royal council chambers. The nobles debated loudly, boasting of victories, mocking their enemies, and speaking of battles yet to come. But the lantern in her palm remained dim. Then Sir Lancelot, a proud commander, rose to speak. His words dripped with arrogance. "We must attack, and in doing so, show our supremacy. Peace is for the weak. At that moment, the red leaf glowed brightly in Hannah's hand. She lifted it, and suddenly, Sir Lancelot's pride unraveled. Against his own will, he confessed, "I crave supremacy. I push for wars, not for the kingdom, but for my name." His mask of loyalty shattered in front of everyone. Gasps echoed through the hall. The council deposed him, shocked by the truth. The red leaf burned into ash, and one flame in Hannah's lantern stilled. But it was only the beginning. Later that day, Hannah's lantern flared again, pulling her towards an old amphitheater. There, to her horror, she discovered a grand feast. The royal chefs and nobles dined lavishly, while the common people starved outside the palace gates. Rations meant for the hungry had been stolen, turned into delicacies for the wealthy. The blue leaf in Hannah's hand blazed with light. She raised it, and the amphitheater walls crumbled away, revealing the truth to the masses outside. The nobles tried to deny it, but the evidence was undeniable. Greed had been exposed, and the blue leaf vanished in flames. Word spread quickly through the kingdom, and unrest shook the palace. The queen returned from her journeys and was horrified by the revelations. Yet Hannah knew the greatest sin was still hidden in fear. Fear was what silenced the council, preventing them from speaking against corruption. Fear was what allowed greed and pride to grow unchecked. And soon, in the council chambers, the final truth spilled out. The advisors, trembling, admitted they had been too afraid to speak against the queen's temper, too afraid to do their duty. The yellow leaf ignited, burning away as the last flame in Hannah's lantern dimmed. The sins were revealed, but the cost was heavy. The trust between ruler and council fractured, the people's faith shaken. And yet, in that silence, something new was born. The queen, humbled, bowed before her daughter. Teresa, usually full of words, stood speechless for once. The king looked at Hannah with new eyes, realizing his silent daughter had saved them all. But Hannah, true to her nature, did not seek the throne. Instead, she placed her hand gently on Teresa's. "Rule with your voice," her eyes seemed to say, "and I will guide with my silence." Together, the sisters brought balance to the kingdom. Teresa's voice carried strength, while Hannah's silence carried truth. It was not one or the other that saved their home, but the harmony between them. And so the legend lived on, that the loudest voice and the quietest heart, when joined together, could change the fate of a kingdom forever.